So in the last lecture, we had discussed the examples of DIT FFT and DIF FFT. And along with that, we have started the applications of FFT algorithm. So in which we have discussed the two applications. First one is the efficient computation of the DFT of two real sequence. So that we have discussed. And we started the discussion of the second application, which is this one, efficient computation of the DFT of a two endpoint real sequence. Okay, I think we have just started the discussion, and so let us continue with this slide. So if your sequence has two endpoint real sequence, just a second, I'm getting some notification. Okay, so efficient computation of the DFT of a twice n point real sequence. So if there is a endpoint sequence, we have seen that how we apply the DFT computation over there. But if your sequence having two endpoint real sequence, how to apply the solution or how to apply the DFT equation for that? Suppose that g of n is a real number value. Suppose that g of n is a real valued sequence of two endpoints. First, we define x1n, that is equal to g of twice n, and x2n, that is g of twice n plus 1. So simply we can say that we have subdivided the two endpoint real sequence into two endpoint real sequence and apply the method described in the preceding section. So here what we are doing, we are dividing this sequence into two parts. G1n is equal to g of twice n, and x2n is equal to g of twice n plus 1. Means simply whatever sequence is given, we divide it into even and odd parts. And then our whatever previously discussed method in the previous section we have described, that xn be the endpoints complex value sequence. Whatever equation we have taken, x of n is equal to x1n plus j x2n. Similarly, we apply the solution for this. Here now this x1 is our g of twice n, and x2n is nothing but g of twice n plus 1. So in this equation, whatever equation we have discussed in the preceding section, the same equation we apply, but now x1n and x2n are replaced with the values g of twice n and g of twice n plus 1. Okay, so as we apply and we find out the DFT, our solutions are x1k is equal to 1 by 2 x of k plus complex conjugate of x n minus k. For the second one, x of 2k is equal to 1 upon 2j x of k minus x of complex conjugate n minus k. So this is how we are getting the solution for two endpoint real sequence. Another alternate way is we must express the two endpoints DFT in terms of two endpoint sequences x1n and x2n. Okay, so similarly, another thing is mentioned. To accomplish this, we proceed as in the decimation in time FFT algorithm. So here, whatever these two sequences, this is G2n and G2n plus 1. So similar way, we have done the solution in decimation in time FFT algorithm. Here similarly we calculate this. So we define the new notation capital G of k, which is sigma n is equal to 0 to n minus 1, g of twice n, that is the even part of the sequence, omega twice n raised to twice nk, plus sigma n is equal to 0 to n minus 1, g of twice n plus 1 omega twice n raised to twice n plus 1 into k. So this is the even part of the sequence and this is the odd part of the sequence. And as we have mentioned, g of twice n is nothing but we assign the notation x1n, and g2n plus 1 we assign the notation x2n. So we replace this. Now we are getting the sigma n is equal to 0 to n minus 1 x1, and this 2 are cancelled out in this. So we are getting omega suffix n raised to nk. Okay, just a second. Rishabh Mishra, sir, n की जगह n by 2 होना चाहिए. Where you are talking? Rishabh, please unmute and ask your query.
सर वो जो इक्वेशन है सबमिशन लिखा हुआ है उसमें
यहाँ पे yeah, why n by 2 not written? Because at this point we are talking about the twice n sequence. If n point sequence is there, then n by 2 is there.
Yes sir, makes sense, totally makes sense.
Yes.
Yes sir, सही है.
Rishabh, your voice is very low. Are you got your answer?
Yes, sir. I got.
Okay, okay. So here we assign this notation: sigma n is equal to 0 to n minus 1 x1 n, and omega n raised to nk, omega suffix n raised to nk. These two are cancelled out as per the properties of Twiddle factor. And here this term is now separated in two terms. One term we are taking outside of this summation, as it is not depending on the value of n. So omega suffix twice n raised to k sigma n is equal to 0 to n minus 1 x to n into omega suffix n raised to nk. So finally whatever we are getting, that is g of k, which is nothing but, if we find out the DFT for this sequence, it is known as a x1k, and DFT for this particular sequence is known as a x2k, and it is multiplied with the, here I think this suffix term is coming into the multiplication, so this is a little typo error, so that you please correct. Here omega suffix twice n raised to k, here again, so omega suffix twice n raised to k. This is your n in multiplication, but it is not in the multiplication, that is a suffix one. Okay, so g of k is equal to x1k plus omega suffix twice n raised to k into x2k, where k values are 0 to n minus 1. Second sequence, this one is g of k plus 1 or k plus n x1k minus omega twice n into x2. So thus we have computed the DFT of a two endpoint real sequence from one endpoint DFT and some additional computation. So here we can say that we can apply the same logic which we applied for the calculation of endpoint DFT, and we get the solution of 2 point real sequence solution using the same, just a second, same sequence by some additional computation. Okay, so this is second application. Now we move to the third one: use of the FFT algorithm in linear filtering and correlation. How we are applying this FFT algorithm for the linear filtering and correlation. Okay, so let h of n, where n is nothing but 0 to m minus 1, be the unit sample response of the FIR filter, and x of n denote the input data sequence. So as we are talking about linear filtering, so any, when we talk about any filter, what happen, simply if I say for filter, our notation will be y of n is equal to x of n, it is convolved with h of n. Okay, this is how we define the filter function. Okay, here x of n is equal to x of n into h of n. So here we define the filter response, whatever filter we are taking, that is h of n, where n is nothing but 0 less than or equal to n less than or equal to m minus 1. So suppose we are taking m point sequence, so the samples of that particular filters are starting from 0 to m minus 1, and the unit and the FIR filter, sorry, unit sample response of the FIR filter, and x of n, and whatever x of n we are taking, that is denotes the input data sequence. So this is the input data sequence, and this is the filter one, which is the m point filter. The values are samples are from 0 to m minus 1. So the block size of the FFT algorithm is n over here, where how we define the n is nothing but L plus m minus 1. This is the equation we are using for n over here. N is equal to L plus m minus 1, where L is nothing but, L is the number of new data samples being processed by the filter. So as we have seen, total m minus coefficients are there, and L such coefficients. So you can say the L is the number of new data samples being processed by the filter. So we assume that for any given value of m, the number L of data sample is selected so that n is the power of 2. So this is a one condition is given. So we assume that n give any given value of m, the number L of data sample is selected so that n is coming in the power of 2. So here we consider only Radix 2 FFT algorithm for this discussion. So the endpoint DFT of h of n. So now we calculate the endpoint DFT of this filter h of n, which is padded by L minus 1 zeros, is denoted as h of k. Okay, suppose your sequence having length L and your filter having length m minus 1, or you can say m, what happened? So suppose your sequence having larger size, so what happened? We have to paid additional zeros in this. So we can say that h of to calculate the endpoint DFT, which is padded by L minus 1 zeros. Why it is L minus 1 zeros? Because here we written when number L of data sample is selected, so that n is power of 2. So whatever n we are getting, that must be in the power of 2. So for making this power of 2, we are padding this additional zeros, and we find out the endpoint DFT. We are getting the endpoint DFT, and which is denoted as a h of k. Hello, who has unmuted their mic? Any query? Please, you can ask. If anybody having any query, they can ask. Somebody unmuted the mic, and I'm getting some voice, but voice was not clear. So please let me know. If anybody have any query, you can please ask. Okay. So you can explain from second point again. Second point. Okay, just a second. Okay, here we are talking about the FFT calculation using FFT algorithm in the linear filtering. Okay, so here first of all, whatever we are doing is that is h of n, that is a filter we are taking, filter response, and that is a one FIR filter we have selected, and then x of n. And here we define the block size for the FFT algorithm of n. Okay, here n is equal to L plus m minus 1. This is actually related with the block processing of the FFT, which actually not covered in your syllabus. That is now included in the syllabus of signal and system. Okay, so how to apply the FFT in the block manner? That is a, you can say, overlap add and overlap save, two methods are there. So from that we have taken that. So block size of n is equal to L plus m minus 1, and L is the number of new data samples being processed by the filter. And we assume that for any given value of m, the number L of data sample is selected, so that n is power of 2. So always we have to make this whatever data point we have selected, and we implement it, so n must be in the power of 2. So here, for example, we are considering the radix 2. Sir, if radix 4 algorithm was in consider, then n should be power of 4. Yeah, true. Okay, when we consider for radix 4, then it will be power of 4. So we consider only radix 2 FFT algorithm for discussion. So the endpoint DFT of h of n. So simply when we calculate the DFT of h of n, we call this as a h of k. Now what happened? Which is padded by L minus 1 zeros. Why? Because here n is equal to L plus m minus 1. So this filter having the values, that is m. Total m number of values are there. So how many values you have to pay to make it n size? L minus 1. You can easily see that. So here L minus 1 zeros are padded, and then after we calculate the DFT of that particular filter. So this computation is performed once via the FFT, and the resulting n complex numbers are stored. So uh, we perform this computation via the FFT algorithm, and resulting n complex numbers. So whatever n complex numbers we are getting, we store that number. So to be specific, we assume that the decimation and frequency FFT algorithm is used to compute the h of k. So here, for example, we assume specifically that we are using the DIF FFT algorithm for the computation of h of k. So when we use the DIF FFT algorithm instead of DIT algorithm, what kind of output we are getting? In DIF always produce the output in the bit reversal order. So here we return this yield the h of k in the bit reverse order, which is the way it is stored in memory. So here we are using the decimation and frequency FFT algorithm for the computation of h of k, which produce the filter response for h of n, and whatever output you are getting, that is in the bit reverse order, and we store that in the same order. So you have to remember one thing: whatever filter response or DFT of that particular filter we are getting, that is in the bit reversal order. Okay. Now in the overlap save method, now we are discussing the two method: overlap save and overlap add. Okay. So only you have to simply understand that overlap save method means the first m minus data blocks of each data block are the last m minus data blocks of the previous data block. This is a one repetition, means whatever overlap is getting, we save that overlap, and the overlap add method, whatever overlap will occur, that we are adding. So here just we are saving that. So here you can say the overlap save method, first m minus 1 data points of each data block are the last m minus 1 data blocks of the previous data block, means whatever previous, suppose I am talking about case data block. So what happened here, whatever first values are getting, first m minus value, m minus 1 values I am getting, data, these are nothing but the values which I am getting from the k minus 1th data block. Okay, so here we can say these m minus values are stored from the previous data block. So this is what we follow in the overlap save method. So each data block contains l new data points, so that l is equal to, sorry, n is equal to l plus m minus 1. So the n data point DFT of each data block is performed by the FFT algorithm. If the decimation in frequency algorithm is employed, the input data block require no shuffling and the values of the DFT occur in bit reverse order. So now we again apply the same decimation in frequency algorithm. So what is mentioned, when we apply the DFT algorithm in the, sorry, when we apply the FFT algorithm in DIF format, the thing is your input data block is required no shuffling and the values of the DFT occur in the bit reverse order. Since this is exactly the order of h of k. Okay, so what happened, we can multiply the DFT of the data. So now first we calculated the DFT of filter, that is h of n, and we call this as a h of k. Okay, so as we know, whatever method we are applying, that is bit reverse order, so whatever filter response we are getting h of k, that is again in the bit reverse order. And then after we apply the DFT function, same format, DIF format for the x of n, so which will produce the x of k as the output. Okay, now as we have to do the convolution in time domain, here we have to perform the multiplication in frequency domain to get the output. Okay, so since this is exactly the order of h of k, we can multiply the DFT of the data, say x sum k with with h of k, and thus the result is also in the bit reverse order. As our h of k is in bit reverse order and x of k, here is x of mk is mentioned, so it will produce the ymk output, which is again in the bit reverse order, because these two values h of k and x of k are in the bit reverse order. So the inverse DFT, IDFT can be computed by use of the FFT algorithm that takes the input in bit reverse order and produce an output in the normal order. So similarly, we can perform the IDFT. If you are using the same algorithm for IDFT, what happened? Now your input, as we have discussed, to obtain the IDFT, we have to reverse the direction, we have to change the input to output, and we have to change the sign of twiddle factor. So when you apply this and you calculate the IDFT, what happened? Simply in this case, you have to remember this, your output will become input. So as your output is bit reverse, now what happened? Your input become bit reverse, and now your output become normal in the IDFT. So thus there is a no need to shuffle any block of data either in computing the DFT or the IDFT. Okay, so this is what we done using the linear filtering. Now here we are talking about the overlap save method. Now if the overlap add method is used to perform the linear filtering, the computation method using the FFT algorithm basically the same. The only difference is that the endpoint data blocks consist of L new data points and M minus additional zeros. So here this is an overlap add one. So as per the concept, what we have to do, endpoint data blocks consist of whatever endpoint data block we are preparing. It consists of L new data points. Okay, L number of new data points and M minus 1 additional zeros. In previous case, that is a repetition of the past block, but here we are putting this M minus 1 additional zeros. Okay, after the IDF is computed for each block, the endpoint filter block are overlap, and the M minus 1 overlapping data points between successive output records are added together. So when we perform the IDFT, what happened? There is computed for each data block, the endpoint filter blocks are overlapped, means whatever endpoint filtering we are doing, all these blocks are overlapped, and at the end what happened? The M minus 1 overlapping data points between the successive output records are added. So every time you are getting L data points, plus m minus 1 additional 0. So whatever m minus 1 additional or overlapping data points you are getting, they all are sum up at the last. So what happened, that is overlapping data points between successive output records are added together. So that's why this algorithm is known as a overlap add algorithm. Though calculations are similar, only the format of calculation is little difference. In previous case, we are overlap save one means whatever the previous output, we are taking the last m minus 1 bits of data output and putting in the as a overlap save mode. But here what happened, we are not keeping that data, we are taking the l new data points and m minus additional zeros are added, and whatever m minus 1 overlapping data point values we are getting at the last, all these values are added. So whatever overlap we are getting, that is added in the last. So this is the overlap add method. So this is how we can apply the FFT algorithm in linear filtering and correlation. Okay, now computational complexity of the FFT method for linear filtering. So now when we apply the FFT method for linear filtering, how much is the computational complexity? Okay, so here the one-time computation of h of k is insignificant and can be ignored. So here, as we know, for the computation of h of k, we are applying the computation also, but it is a one-time computation. So for the sake of simplicity, we ignore that. So now each FFT requires, so as earlier we have discussed, each FFT calculation or computation requires n by 2 log 2n complex multiplications and n into log 2n number of additions. So since the FFT is performed twice, once for the DFT and other for the IDFT. Okay, as here we are doing the linear filtering, so we have to first, what we have to do, we have to take this, just a second, we are taking this y of n as an input. Our main task is this, we have to perform this, y of n is equal to h of n convolution with x of n. Okay, so now what we are doing here first we convert this y of n, h of n and x of n into DFT format. We apply the DFT. Okay, why we apply the DFT, we convert them into the frequency domain. So our convolution will now become the multiplication. So we obtain this equation, y of k is equal to h of k and it is multiplied with x of n. Okay, to separately write this, here this is a sign of convolution, or here you can just put the dot to show the multiplication. Okay, so first x of y of n is taken, we are taking the h of n into x of n, we perform the DFT to simplify the task of convolution with replace the task of convolution with multiplication. But now our output is y of k format, means we are getting the output in the discrete domain or in the discrete frequency domain specifically. Y of k is equal to h of k into x of n, x of k, not n, sorry. Okay, now what happened, our requirement is this one, y of n. So again we have to apply the IDFT. So when we apply the IDFT, what happened, this y of k is now directly converted into y of n. So this is the process which we are performing in the linear filtering. Linear filtering means we apply this filter response to the data sequence, but we perform this task in the frequency domain, and then again our output must be in the time domain. So here this thing is mentioned, since the FFT is performed twice, once in the DFT and once for the IDFT. So that's why number of computation we are using in the FFT will be doubled over here for the linear filtering. So here n by 2 log 2n complex multiplication, but it is multiplied by 2. So you require n into log 2n number of multiplications, and here n into log 2n number of addition, but you require twice n log 2n number of additions. So there are also n complex multiplications and n minus 1 addition required to compute y of k. Okay, so here as mentioned, here total n number of complex multiplication and n minus 1 additions required to compute y of k. So therefore we have n log 2 n divide by L complex multiplication per output data point, and approximately twice n log n divide by L additions per output data point. Here I think Just a second. Okay, here this 2 is a repetition. Just I think only 1 2 will be there. I will check this in the text, but at present you will correct this. Here we have n, as you mentioned, n log to n log to n, and number of L such stages. So therefore we have n log to n divide by L complex multiplication per output data point, and approximately twice n log to n divide by L addition per output data point, because this is the overall calculation, and total L such points are occur. So per data point, how much calculations are needed? That is n log to n divide by L. And second one is twice n log to n divide by L. So that is a complex multiplication, and second one is the complex addition. So the overlap add method requires an incremental increase of m minus 1 divided by L, because every time we are adding the m minus 1 additional zeros per data point. So what happened? So sorry, total m minus 1 additional zeros we are adding. So again it is divided with the total number of data points. So m minus 1 divided by L in the number of additions. So this is the additional when we are using the overlap add method. Okay, so by way of comparison, a direct form realization of the FIR filter involves m real number multiplication per output point if the filter is not linear phase, and m divided by 2 if the linear phase or symmetric. So if I now we are talking about the filter, for example, we are taking the FIR filter. So in a FIR filter, m number of real multiplications per output point is needed if the filter is not linear phase, and if it is linear phase means it is a symmetric. So if it is symmetric, we have to calculate m by 2. M by 2 computations are required. So also the number of additions is m minus 1 per output point. So we require the m minus 1 per additions per output point. So suppose we are taking m is equal to 128. So that is 2 raised to 7. So now we represent n is equal to 2 raised to v. So the total number of complex multiplication per output data point of FFT. So suppose we implement this thing with the FFT, how much is the complex multiplications are required? Because the main thing is multiplication. So here we are interested only in the number of multiplication or number of complex multiplications are needed. So let us calculate that. So this CV number is nothing but complex multiplication. So it is n into log to n. Okay, n into log to n. Just a second, let me take this equation. Just a second, just a second. Okay, so whatever correction I told you, that is not a typo error, because we are talking about the complex term. So in complex term, when we are doing the calculation directly, then n number of multiplications are required. But when we are talking about the complex terms, what happens? That will term will become twice n. So I think this thing is included in this book. So that's why the twice n number is mentioned. So no need to correct it. Whatever I have mentioned in the slide is true. N log 2 twice n divide by n. And here n twice n log 2 twice n. Okay. So here same thing for the complex multiplication. So in the complex multiplication, CV is equal to n into log 2 twice n divided by number of stages, that is L. So now this n, as per our equation, we are writing n is equal to 2 raised to v. So that we written n is equal to 2 raised to v. And this log 2 twice n. Okay, earlier we are writing this v is equal to log 2 n. So v is equal to log 2 n means number of stages. Okay, so here log 2 twice n. So what happened? So to make it log 2 twice n is equal to v, and then twice n, so their equation will become v plus 1, and whatever value of l that we are mentioned earlier, n minus m plus 1. Okay, so now we, if we, when we simplify this, here you are getting the approximate equation, twice 2 raised to v into v plus 1 in the numerator, and divide by what is the value of n over here, that is 2 raised to v, and what is the value of m, what is the value of m we have taken over here, that is 2 raised to 7, and we ignore this value 1, this value is 1 is ignored. So final simplified equation or equivalent equation you are getting for the calculation of complex multiplication, that is 2 raised to v into v plus 1 divide by 2 raised to v minus 2 raised to 7. For this particular case, when I'm writing this 2 raised to 7, I'm taking this case m is equal to 128. Okay, so now here one table is shown. So here it will compare the, it will calculate the computational complexity. So size of FFT, suppose you are taking v is equal to log 2n. So here these are the number of stages are shown, value of v are shown 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, and cv, that is a computational complexity, that is a number of complex multiplication per output point. So if I'm taking v is equal to 9 and apply this value in the equation, I'm getting the number of complex multiplication per output point are 13.3, 12.6, then 12.8, then 13.4. Okay, so as we have mentioned that CV represent the number of complex multiplication for the FFT based method. The number of real multiplication, just a second. Here let us complete this first table. So here we have taken this table for m is equal to 128. So here you can notice that for different values of v, we have calculated the complex number of multiplication. So from this we try to find out the size of FFT. Which size of FFT will give you less number of complex multiplication. So here you can see initially we are taking size of FFT 9, which give you the total number of multiplication per output points are 13.3, then 12.6, 12.8, 13.4, and 15.5. But what happened here, you can see where you are getting the optimum value. Here you can say the value is 12.6, which is the lowest one. So we can say our selection is v is equal to 10, means we select the size of FFT, that is 10, which will give you the optimum or less number of multiplication. So that is 12.6 per output point. So here we can mention this, the output occurs, optimum occurs at v is equal to 10. So we can say that by calculating this, we are find out where you are getting the lowest value of complex multiplication, and we select that number of that size of FFT. So for this particular example, we select v is equal to 10, which give you the 12.6 multiplication, complex multiplication per output point. Okay, so here CV represents the number of complex multiplication for the FFT based method. The number of real multiplication is 4 times in the number. If we are going for the real multiplication, as it includes the 4 different notation. So it includes the 4, it will increase the number by 4 times. So here we can say that consequently the FFT based method is indeed superior from a computational point of view when the filter length is relatively large. So this method will provide you the computational efficiency, or you can say give better computational complex reduction in the computational complexity when your filter length is relatively large. So instead of direct implementation of that filter, if you use the FFT for that particular filter implementation, you are getting the reduction in the computational complexity. Okay, all of you clear up to this? Okay. Okay, let me discuss the few points. Now we are going for the linear filtering approach to the computation of the DFT. So the FFT algorithm, now up to now what we have discussed, that is the first we have discussed about the direct computation of the DFT, then we use the two FFT algorithm, Radix 2 DIT and Radix 2 DIF algorithm, and we calculate that we say that our computational complexity is low when we use the FFT algorithm compared to direct implementation. But what happen if you have to select only few points of the data? It is not always we require the all data as whatever given in the input, we process all the data and produce the output. So when such requirement is that, instead of performing FFT, direct computation is better. Okay, so because only we have to select the few points and we have to find out the computation of the DFT, so the FFT algorithm takes endpoints of input data. So the FFT algorithm takes endpoints of input data and produces an output sequence of endpoints corresponding to the DFT of the input data. So the FFT algorithm takes endpoints of input data and produce output sequence of endpoint of corresponding to the DFT of the input data. So here you are applying x of n, you are getting x of k, where k is equal to approximate, not approximate, but exactly n. So the Radix 2 FFT algorithm performs the computation of the DFT with n by 2 log 2 n multiplication and n log 2 n additions for an endpoint sequence. Okay, suppose we are talking about Radix 2 FFT algorithm, either DIT or DIF, both having the same complexity. So it will require n by 2 log 2 n multiplication and n into log 2 n complex additions. So there are some applications where only a selected number of values of the DFT are desired, but the entire DFT is not required. Okay, so in such case, where only selected number of values of the DFTs are desired, what happen? In such a case, the FFT algorithm may no longer be more efficient than the direct computation of the desired value. So as you know, you are require only few values out of n values. So if you process the n values and your requirement is n points, then you can say the FFT is better. But when you require selective output, means you have few values of input only you have to process, and you require DFT of that particular few points only. So in that case, what happen? In fact, when the desired number of values of the DFT is less than log 2n, a direct computation of the desired values is more efficient. So in such case, when your DFT has less than log 2n values, a direct computation of the desired values is more efficient because less number of computation, multiplication and additions are involved. So the direct computation of the DFT can be formulated as a linear filtering operation on the input data sequence. So to make it to reduce the complexity further, what happened? We select the new approach, that is linear filtering operation on the input data sequence. Now we are obtaining the DFT with the help of linear filtering. So the linear filter takes the form of parallel bank of resonators, where each resonator selects one of the frequencies, whatever frequencies in the resonator. Out of that resonator, we select a few of the selected frequencies corresponding to the n frequencies in the DFT. So if in the general approach I am talking about, here in the linear filter, what happened? We are selecting different filter. For example, H0, one filter, H1. I am giving one example only, and then one H2. Suppose three filters are there. Okay, so what happened in this linear filtering? We apply x of n as a common to all. This x of n. Okay. Now x of n, or you can say x of k, is given with in this filter in the commonly into the all the filter. Now suppose our requirement is only this data point, means we can say y1k only or y0k. Then what happen? We use this particular filter only, remaining are unused. So what happen? In this case, we are performing the operation with this single filter and we obtain the y0k. So if our approach is selective one, then this particular approach, or you can say linear filtering approach, is advantageous. Okay, so we will discuss this linear filtering approach in much detail and two different algorithms for that. So that we will cover in the next lecture. So today we stop here. So let me the attendance first.